Our news is brought to you by Alive.
Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up in our news tonight, the president of the Bahamas Christian Council sounds off on recent political campaigning. Churches expect to be packed on Easter Sunday, and local churches plan big Easter celebrations. Welcome to our news, and thanks for joining us. I'm Georgia Bain. Topping news tonight. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. According to Bahamas Christian Council President Bishop Delton Fernandez, Jasmine Brown tells us how he feels about politicians' decision to ramp up campaigning during the COVID-19 pandemic.
I think what it's doing is setting a precedent, and we must realize what is good for the goose is also good for the gander.
That's Bahamas Christian Council President Bishop Delton Fernandez speaking candidly about political parties' persistent campaigning in recent months. Both PLP leader Philip Brave Davis and Free National Movement leader Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis have defended the campaigning. While responding to reporters on Tuesday about the hypocrisy of continuing to campaign and attract large crowds while asking residents not to gather in large groups, the PM insisted they were following the rules and wearing masks. The following day, Davis insisted his party is not being reckless by campaigning during the COVID-19 pandemic, noting that all PLPs who take part in campaigning exercises are mandated to follow health protocols.
I wish that there be consideration, knowing that in this time that all of us want to preserve our health, we want to do the best we can, and we must be fair all across the board, that if we see one thing happening on the streets, we should also be allowed in other areas to do the same.
Political parties are continuing to campaign while religious ceremonies like weddings and funerals remain restricted in size.
The fear we have is that what has been taking place on the streets might affect what takes place in church, and so we're going to be very careful, and we're going to make sure our protocols are followed.
Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
And the director of the Pan American Health Organization is cautioning countries in the region not to let their guard down as COVID-19 cases in many countries surge. During this week's Pan American Health Organization press briefing, Director Dr. Carissa Edian said as cases continue to rise in the region, concerns are rising that a possible third wave could be bigger than previous waves of last year.
Now we are seeing rising cases across our region, even in places that had seemed to contain or avoid previous outbreaks. And there is a real risk that this current surge in cases will be larger than last year's surge for several countries. In places like Uruguay, Brazil, and Cuba, it already is.
According to Edian, variants of concern are nearing home, but PAHO's surveillance unit is beefing up tracking efforts.
Our surveillance network has been significantly expanded to identify and track variants of the SARS-CoV-2 virus. 21 countries are now participating in our COVID-19 genomic surveillance network, giving us a much better picture of the variants circulating in our region. At least one of the 3 variants of concern have been identified in 32 countries and territories of the Americas.
Edian encourages countries to take advantage of variant genome testing and to maintain safety protocols.
We are working hand in hand with member states to increase their capacity and to improve reporting of these variants. We are also conducting analysis to better understand the real impact of these variants in some of the most highly affected areas. A technical consultation on variants this week concluded that the message remains the same.
This Easter will have the largest turnout the church has seen in a while. This according to Bahamas Christian Council President Bishop Delton Fernandez, who says last year's lockdowns left the Christian community eager to celebrate.
I think since last year that we didn't have any of this. We weren't able to have Palm Sunday. We weren't able to gather in our sanctuaries and do the things that we were used to do. Now we head to Good Friday and Resurrection Sunday. This is the highest of the church calendar. I believe that we have to reintroduce ourselves to this type of worship, to this type of celebration. I'm excited about the crowds I see, that it's so significant to us that this Good Friday, that I believe we will see larger crowds than we've ever seen before, and this Resurrection Sunday.
Fernando believes Bahamians have a reason to celebrate after the unpredictable events of the last 2 years.
As a church, we want to remind people we're going to be social distance, we're going to be very, very careful, but we're going to lift up the name of Jesus and thank him for bringing us through Dorian, bringing us through the pandemic, and now to 2021, this year of new beginnings. Let's give God thanks.
Mount Tabor Church Bishop Neil Ellis joining the call of religious leaders for more Bahamians to be vaccinated. Ellis said during the initial phases he had some apprehension, but has since gotten more information and even got vaccinated. He's encouraging his congregants and all Bahamians to do the same.
Everybody to think and assess and analyze the facts, but then think of your brothers and your sisters and those you love, those who you hold dear to you, because when you take the vaccine, you are not only protecting yourself, but you're protecting all of those who are within your circles.
According to health officials, more than 7,000 Bahamians have been vaccinated so far. Ellis says while he understands the concerns of many may have about the AstraZeneca vaccine, but in his case, he encourages Bahamians to follow the lead of science.
Well, I know there's a lot of talk out there, but that's what, see, fear. Fear brings insecurity. And in the absence of information, there's fear. All right? People perish because of the lack of knowledge. But when you become knowledgeable about a subject matter, then it's easier to make sensible decisions.
Well, competition between media houses from across New Providence took a more friendlier approach today with the help of Showman eBistro, where media professionals got to show off their skills in the kitchen. There was no shortage of food, festivities, and trash talking at today's Showman eBistro Ultimate Chef competition.
And this is the most winningest team that you can imagine in winningest history. And we can do it, right, Jill?
We can do it.
I'm sorry for Christina and Jerome.
Of course we're going to win. Of course. This is our news. We are #1. It would only be fair.
If we even get #1, I can eat something from everybody. So I win.
Media houses from across the island selected their finest wannabe chefs to take on their colleagues and rivals. Lucky for us, there were 2 teams representing us today. Team Vaccinators made up of our very own Jerome Sawyer and Christina Dragovich, and Team Silver Swagger with our Jillian Gray and our Kyle Joaquin. But who would walk away with the top prize?
Certain things wouldn't happen if it wasn't for me. Like, I was the one responsible for making sure all the dishes was clean, making sure the pots was rinsed when they finished using it, because we had to hurry up and do it. So I was really here just emptying the garbage and helping peel carrots and stuff. And I saw them cooking like steaks and stuff, so that makes me a part of it. So yeah, man, we holding it down. Like, we got some stuff here. I really can't tell you the name of it right now because it's a secret. And plus, I don't know what it is.
Despite their confidence, the judges would have the final say.
Well, I'm looking for creativity, presentation of the meal, and the taste. I know that I can't use the standard for culinary, they say, to dealing with for persons who have never even been in the art, like the media houses who they just like guest celebrity chefs in their own home.
The mastermind behind the showdown told us all about what went into making today a success.
We wanted to provide a platform for persons in the orange economy and the green economy. And we wanted to give them the opportunity to have a showcase, as it were. And so my thing was, well, why not include all of the media houses, right? And so hence, the Showman Ultimate Chef competition was born.
It was time to plate and present to the judges.
We have a delicious curry ginger pumpkin soup presented in a roasted pumpkin with a bread pudding treat. I represent the team Silver Swagger. First up for you, we have our creamy conch chowder. And we wanted to go with something a little bit original here. We have our conch chowder in our actual coconut bowl.
But who would walk away victorious? Drum roll, please.
Second place.
Bobby boys! Bobby!
Give it up for
Bobby!
the Vaccinators!
The Vaccinators take second place! Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it!
While he believed his team deserved first place, Jerome was happy to take second because ultimately, he said, today had a greater meaning.
It shows that we are beginning to come back. The fact that we can be outside, we can do this, we can get together in groups, people can come by and see and still be socially distanced. And it's built, it's building the healthy rivalry. We all know each other in the industry. We haven't seen each other, in about a year or more. And so it's good to see each other, good to talk crazy. We haven't said much. We said we were cooking, we ain't here to talk.
Well, still to come on our news, churches plan big Easter celebrations after a year of lockdown and restrictions. And we take a look at a Bahamian neurosurgeon fighting the COVID-19 pandemic abroad. Stay with us.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
You're watching our news. Thanks for staying with us. After being on lockdown for Easter in 2020, churches are not taking the relaxed restrictions lightly. While many of them found creative ways to celebrate, one thing is consistent. They are planning to celebrate big, but in a safe way. Our Jillian Gray has that.
As we celebrate resurrection and we feature the Great Reset, a short film where people risk everything to find faith in a hopeless, war-torn world.
It's an unorthodox take on a very traditional season. The Great Reset movie, produced by Bahamas Harvest Church, is based on the premise, what if Jesus never died on the cross?
It's an interesting concept to come up with, right? Because we don't live in that reality. Right. So it was a lot of imagination about what a world could possibly look like. So we've created this post-apocalyptic world, so to speak. And we have persons, because now there's no hope in the world, persons are searching. They're searching for something.
A world void of hope is a pretty dark concept, according to Indira Green, who is the writer of the film. She says hopefully people who have been void of hope over the last year feel encouraged after the movie.
Even though the things of this world can get us down and can weigh us down, it's important for us to rest our hope in Jesus, because we're looking forward to that day that we all speak about, that we all sing about, that we all hope for. So for this movie too, I hope that that message gets across and that people understand that no matter what is going on in the world, we have a hope in Jesus.
Green says though they honor the sacredness of the season, they wanted to bring a unique spin on things. Movie director Michaela Forbes says COVID-19 did make it difficult to shoot the film.
Filming was crazy, of course, because in this COVID environment, we had to get all actors together, still trying to comply with the COVID protocols, of course. So that was kind of crazy. But in the end of the day, we had an awesome time. And it was just, my focus was, what does God want me to do? And how do I bring this film to life?
Churches around the country have planned to celebrate the Easter holiday in a big way. Last year during the Easter season, the Bahamas was on lockdown and gatherings were prohibited. Pastor Bryn McPhail says he's happy that's not the case this year.
Even though we're still practicing restrictions and limitations and safety protocols, it's a lot better than this time last year where I had to broadcast Palm Sunday from my home. Easter was without persons present. It was just a live stream from our sanctuary. So this year I'm grateful that we can have in-person worship.
The worst day in human history was also the best day, according to McPhail, who says Easter represents God's power to turn a bad situation around.
God can take the worst situation imaginable and make it into something glorious. And just as he did that with the death and resurrection of his son, he does so in our own lives. Whatever difficult circumstances we're in, Easter reminds us that God's in control, that nothing's too difficult for him, and that if we trust in him, everything will work out in the end.
While there will be no choir and they'll have about 100 less persons on site, McPhail says he's looking forward to a wonderful service. President of the Christian Council, Dalton Fernandez, says he hopes people use the season to share hope with those who they haven't seen in a year.
There will be that time when you feel like no one cares, no one's concerned. But the trust us, he said, my God, that you must trust that he is your God. He is our keeper. He's the all-sufficient one. And despite all the people who might have let you down, God is still in control, and he still will turn it around. So the hope is not in man. The hope is in this God that we serve. And so I would reach out to any family member that you haven't seen in a long while and give them the Easter hope. Just a cheering up word, just a phone call to let them know that everything's going to be all right.
So whether you're in the sanctuary, watching at home, or on a big screen, one thing's for sure, celebrating Easter is all about clinging to hope after some very dark times. Reporting for our News, I'm Jillian Gray.
A coral project is providing jobs and education opportunities for Bahamians. Alana Vandekot is a Bahamian marine ecologist focused on marine research, conservation, and education.
Finally, something like this is happening on Grand Bahama, and finally something like this is happening in the Bahamas that's within reach of its people. All too often you see these institutions that come up or opportunities, but they're not quite, or somehow Bahamians get left out of that puzzle.
The Coral Restoration Project in Grand Bahama is growing corals to bring reefs back to life. The same reefs that foster the fish that feed Bahamian people, protect our islands, and attract tourists to the country. Vandekot has worked on a number of environmental projects and is happy to be able to make a difference working at home.
I'm a marine ecologist. I've been in the field for about maybe 10 years now, maybe a little bit more than that. And it's just such a blessing that I'm able to do what I love and share my passion, not just with everyone, but specifically with Bahamians here at home.
Coral reefs support 25% of all marine life on Earth. Well, when our news comes back from the break, a closer look into the COVID-19 pandemic through the eyes of one of our very own frontline fighters. Plus, the Bahamas National Youth Choir celebrates its 30th anniversary. We have the details when our news returns.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
This is our news. Welcome back. Being on the front line in the COVID-19 fight is not an easy feat. Doing it in some of the hardest hit areas in the United States during the peak of the pandemic makes the challenge even harder. In this edition of our news series, A League of Their Own, our Kyle Joaquin speaks with the Bahamian neurosurgeon, Dr. Myron Roll.
I think what gives me the most pride, the most joy is seeing a young person, whether they be Bahamian, American, British, wherever they're from, see my story and draw inspiration from it to go further in their own life.
It's not every day you see an NFL pro turn neurosurgeon. For Dr. Myron Roll, it called for a lot of hard work, dedication, and faith. But the son of Bahamian soil has done it, moving in a league of his own and giving of his time and talent selflessly on the front line of the fight against COVID-19.
In the beginning, Kyle, the experience was very difficult. Massachusetts and our hospital, Mass General, is a conglomerate. I mean, it's one of the best hospitals in the country. And so we're getting all of the New England area states, New Hampshire, Vermont, Connecticut, upstate New York, Rhode Island. They all flood into our hospital. We're a 1,000-bed place with all sorts of specialty services. And so it was very overwhelming. My hospital transformed, and being a brain surgeon, I took a step back from doing these typical procedures to now take care of patients with upper respiratory issues that, frankly, I did not know, right? I know the brain and spine. And so I had to sort of learn on a fast learning curve on how to take care of these folks. But, being a former athlete, understanding that you have to be adaptable, have to be flexible, have to adjust on the fly, that sort of helped me change my day-to-day life from operating on the brain and the spine to now taking care of these very sick people.
The neurosurgery resident in Massachusetts General Hospital and global neurosurgery fellow at Harvard recently returned to the Bahamas, assisting with the vaccine rollout.
Trying to spread that message back home to our healthcare workers to our forward-facing civil servants to our most vulnerable population, understanding that a vaccine is a way for us to move forward and to continue the progress that our country has been making. And so I wanted to make sure that message was heard loud and clear, and having a presence back home was important to do.
But Roll is accustomed to returning to the Bahamas, giving back, especially in times of need. After Hurricane Dorian struck in 2019, he was one of several doctors to rush to Grand Bahama, where he lent a hand.
My parents instilled in me and my 4 older brothers a sense of pride of our country, a sense of pride in our people, and obviously my family was hurting. And so, there's a personal connection there, but then there's also just the altruistic feel of, needing to do more with what you have. God's given us abilities. I'm here in Harvard in this, this massive institution that has all these resources. Well, if my country can use any sort of efforts in my network or any of my talents and skills, then why not go home and try to be of some sort of service and some sort of support? And so that's been my goal. It's the goal of my family. And, I look forward to continuing that into the future.
And now this husband and father of 2 says he's looking forward to what the future holds. And most importantly, giving back. A living testament of you can do anything once you put your mind to it. Roll encourages more young Bahamians to go hard after their dreams, and where they can, pick up a mentor.
Truly immerse yourself in what it is you want to do, saturate your body so that when it's time, when your opportunity does come and they say, hey, look, young Bahamian boy, young Bahamian girl, we want to give you the stage. You're not shook and say, I'm not ready to do this. You are absolutely primed and ready to move forward. And they say, well, if this young man is doing it this way, this young woman is doing it this way, the next one behind them are going to do it that way as well. So you just start the pipeline for all these people coming from the Bahamas to just make a big splash on the world stage, on the global stage, and we can do that. I believe it.
With this edition of A League of Their Own, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
As the economy begins the slow process of rebounding after coming to a near standstill due to the COVID-19 pandemic, project managers are finding themselves needed more than ever. That's according to veteran project manager and owner of Creative Minds Projects, Andrea Pratt-Smith, who explains why.
Where project management come in as far as the effect that the pandemic has had on working is that more persons are working remotely. And a lot of persons are new to remote work. That's not something that we're used to and we're accustomed to. And so it takes training and preparation and planning. And so project managers have been able to actually step in and say, let's find creative ways to make networking effective and train persons in being able to communicate through the Zoom feeds or whatever meetings they have to attend. And so you have a lot of persons who are looking into the field of being a Scrum Master. That's kind of an extension from being a regular project manager. It's just a different framework. But Scrum Masters actually oversee remote teams. And so they have the skills to remove the blockers that whatever impedes that team from performing at their optimum. And so that's where the field has been evolving.
Pratt-Smith held an event this past week for project managers and those looking to get into the field.
Well, I know the power of networking because I'm a member of the South Florida Agile Association, the Project Management Institute, the Scrum Alliance, and I've been able to meet my peers from all over the world. So I decided that the Bahamas doesn't have a project management community, and I decided that I wanted to form one because I know the benefits of networking. And so once we all come together and we have our combined resources and talents and skills, then I feel that we can be an asset to the Bahamas.
She says last Thursday's networking session was so successful that they are holding another one this Thursday at 6 via Zoom. She also stressed the importance of connecting with your peers.
I want to add that persons who are interested in joining the community can go onto the website creativemindsprojects.com.
Well, coming up on our news, the Bahamas National Youth Choir has a reason to celebrate, and the Grand Bahama Children's Home gets a much-deserved donation. That's coming up right after the break.
Welcome to our news, and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
You're watching our news. From classical to folk music, the Bahamas National Youth Choir has been performing melodious tunes for decades. And as the choir gears up to celebrate 30 years on Wednesday, the plan is to celebrate a bit differently this year. Our Bethany McDermott tells us how.
According to choir director Dexter Fernando, the global pandemic has prevented the choir from hosting its usual celebration. As a result, the choir will release a CD, which he says hasn't been done since 1998.
Because of the COVID environment, theaters are not open as yet, performing arts, and so the overhead cost that it would not be cost effective for the choir. So we're moved to the place where we've compiled our music for our 30th anniversary into a CD, and in that CD we have created music video for all 14 of the songs.
The songs, according to Fernando, are related to international and Bahamian folk music. He says each month the choir plans to release a music video for all 14 songs on the CD. Some of the songs are Celebrate, Gurn Down Burma Road, and one of Fernando's personal favorites, Song of Parting, which was the latest video released.
Song of Parting is our newest release, where we did it in the retreat at the National Trust. It's the last song we sang in honor of our director, Cleophas R. Yardley. And it was the last song in his funeral. And the song says, "Never shall I forget you, my friend." Now, this is very interesting because he wrote that as a student at the government high school.
The National Youth Choir consists of 28 young Bahamians who have performed in Antigua, Barbados, Mexico, South Africa, and St. Lucia. Fernando says he's hoping the CD would give locals a better appreciation for the arts.
Many times we get influx of requests by artisans or music majors that are studying abroad that don't have a depository in the Bahamas where they can get music, history of the music, and so this allows in a new age where individuals can go into iTunes, Amazon, wherever they are, and download the music, and then for themselves research the music, the history of the music that's there.
If you're looking to experience the melodious tunes of the National Youth Choir, the CD will be available on Amazon, Spotify, and all Apple platforms. Locally, you can also contact the choir on social media for details. Reporting for Our News, I'm Bethany McDermott.
Bahamas District of Pilot International donated 6 tricycles and 6 helmets to the Grand Bahama Children's Home. Governor-elect of the Bahamas District of Pilot International, Karen Ferguson Bain, says the initiative is geared towards encouraging safe and healthy activities.
Our initiative is for our children to play safe and to have their brains protected while they play. Therefore, the helmets, along with the tricycles, are being presented today to the beautiful little darlings of the Grand Bahama Children's Home. A similar initiative is being carried out in New Providence by Governor Tiffany Glass, along with the District Administrative Council and pilots, and that initiative is taking place at the Nazareth Center.
Bain says the initiative is all about teaching children how to play safe.
It's our ride affair, where we want our children to learn to be safe as they play, as they get their exercise. They're also protecting their brain. And so they will carry that information with them as they are small, little, young adults, straight in through being older adults. And so we want them to know that you can play, but you can be safe as you play. And we know that at the Grand Bahama Children's Home, they are always looking for our civic organizations and nonprofit groups to come and help out, because again, the directors can't do it by themselves. The executive directors can't do it by themselves.
The home was presented with a dilemma when the pandemic hit, leaving children stuck indoors. According to the director of the Grand Bahama Children's Home, she says the donation will go a long way.
What we opted to do was have them stay at home. That was great, but it also means we doubled our expenditure because we had to have extra staff here. It also doubles your food budget, and also it goes through your toys quite quickly. So We were a bit short on bikes and other recreational activities for them actually in the home. So this is fantastic. Right now they only have one little tricycle that they kind of been fighting over for a couple of months. So this is going to be amazing for our children.
Well, thank you for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Georgie O'Bain, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow night. Stay safe, Bahamas. Not easily broken starts right now.